Hello, Reds from around the world. Welcome to All for United. I am your host, Joe O'Neill, and I am so excited to welcome the second week running the All for United podcast. We have not been cancelled yet, somehow, okay? And I am over the moon in every way to have these two guys on the show with me tonight. Two guys who have not been on together before, but means we're going to have serious magic tonight. To the left of me, we've got Semps. And below me, we got James. Lads, how are we doing?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good as well.
Good. Sorry, I know when I have to point. Yeah, when I'm pointing at you, I don't know which way to do it when I'm looking at the screen because it's backwards. So I have to do. Yeah. So you are to the left of me, even though I feel like you're to my right. And then, as late as usual, please a round of applause for never arriving on time. Here is Temmie, everyone. Temmie, always fashionably late. Always fashionably late. Temmie, how are you doing?
Yeah, Temmie, you're giving us a bad look, man. Always being late and that.
Hey, man. Work comes first. But you know, I'm here. I'm ready. I'm good. So,
look,
give me a phone. I got some.
Mason Green. Mason Greenwood can make a career seemingly of not being on time, and he's still the hottest prospect of Man United, and that's why Temmie's our hottest prospect too. Okay, he arrives when he wants, and he always brings his A game. So before we get into the main topic we're discussing tonight, and thank you guys so much for joining. Please leave your comments when we get into talking about the European Super League. But thank you so much for joining. Leave your comments and make sure to like and subscribe. How are we feeling after last night? Myself and Temmie discussed it yesterday evening, but James and Semps, can we get your thoughts on the game last night? Semps, you go first.
Oh, me go first.
Yeah,
man, I'm buzzing, to be honest with you, because I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that result coming. I thought we were going to get beat. I thought we was going to get beat against Newcastle as well. So I'm really happy. I've woke up this morning with a smile on my face. Yesterday, I didn't want to go to bed. I was just up. All I wanted to do was talk about Man United. I had to go and run an errands for my mum. And then when I came back, I was just lying in bed, chatting, Twitter. But yeah, the other thing that I'm really happy about as well was the performance. It wasn't a smash and grab. It was a good performance. So yeah.
Sem's just mentioned his mom there, and he is very good to his mother. I invited him on to chat last night, and he said, no, I have to go around to my mom. So Sem's, if we're a boy band, Sem's is the one who's good to his mother. Okay, he's Nick Lachey from Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
James, for yourself, give us your 2 cents on last night.
I'm very similar. I'm absolutely buzzing after yesterday. Like you say, it was nice to see them really take the game to PSG for long periods of the time. We didn't just sit off and try and hit them on the counter. We were, sustaining attacks when they broke down and piling on the pressure. But Marcus Rashford, he feeds school kids, and in return he gets his very own stadium in Paris. So I think that's a pretty fair trade. So
beautiful.
Yeah, I really can't complain at all.
And Temmie, you waxed lyrical last night on how Harry Maguire should be starting ahead of Victor Lindelof. But other than that, what are your thoughts? Final 2 thoughts on the match yourself last night?
Yeah, great game. Very, very good game. Something that you can build off of.
Yeah.
Team shape was absolutely perfect, and I think that was a huge problem to start the season. We were just way, way too easy to play against. And we made it really difficult for 2 of the, in my opinion, 5 best players in the world. So you really can't ask for anything more. Now we just got to take that momentum into the game this weekend and keep it going.
Absolutely dead on. And for anyone who is wondering, Temmie did not want Harry Maguire to start ahead of Victor Lindelof. Temmie would prefer if I started ahead of Harry Maguire at this stage. I would do it for half the price as well. But guys, I have brought you here for a reason, and the reason is to discuss football. And this is the kind of most open topic we're ever going to have, I'd say, on this channel, because we are spearheading it. That's why we're discussing it. But it is something that will change the landscape of football completely. And Temmie's so upset by it, he's leaving. We are discussing.
I don't want to see me use a tissue.
Where did you use it? Never mind. I know it's after 10 o'clock. But we are discussing the European Super League. And we've got one comment in so far from Jamie. And I don't know how this is going to be expressed across the board, but Jamie, it's a super big no from him. I don't know how you guys are feeling about it. I think we'll go to Sems first, but there is a poll running on the All for United channel on Twitter. If you go to that, and it's just a simple up vote or no vote if you are for or against it. But Sems, what are your thoughts on the European Super League?
Well, I've already put my vote and I've given it the thumbs down. We're not going to have no Champions League if we do this. And for me, that music, the Champions League is a special competition. And I'm not a fan of doing this because when you play in the Champions League, it's all about qualifying for the Champions League, playing in the tournament, and it's the excitement around who you're going to be drawing, all of that sort of thing. Doing this type of league, for me, is going to get boring. It's going to get mundane, just playing the same thing season in, season out. So, yeah, it's a big no from me. I'm not for it.
Yeah. James, for yourself on the same thing. But I will say, Sems, you like the Champions League music, but you never know. We might get like a remix on it, and it might make you look at that completely different, We get Pitbull or someone in, Mr. Worldwide.
You need that music on a Wednesday.
Yeah, not a Tuesday. James, for yourself?
Yeah, I'm completely agreeing with Sems. Big no from me. I think to build on the Champions League point as well, the beauty of the Champions League is that there's no spaces just awarded for free. Every team has to earn their spot the season before, whereas this Super League, it's looking like the top sort of 12 teams in Europe are going to have this God-given right to stay there for as long as they like. There's no qualification for it or anything for them. Whereas, you see seasons where United aren't in it, where Chelsea aren't in it, and that sort of variation is what makes the Champions League so special. And it gives other teams lower in the league the chance to qualify every year. So if it's coming in place the Champions League, it's a horrendous idea.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 for 2. Temi, are you going to put a spanner in the works and be for this European Super League, which would be very, very similar in style to your own MLS? So a down vote for the European Super League is a down vote for the MLS.
It's actually, I mean, is it similar? I wouldn't even say it's necessarily similar because there's not like forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's like a regular season playoff type.
There is
feel to it. It's like a quasi Champions League, quasi leagues. It's very weird. It's very, very weird. But to echo the gentleman's sentiments. It wouldn't make sense for the football purist. Like, so the people who are talking on this channel right now, but I'll just play devil's advocate for just the casual football fan, which is 95% of people who watch football. Like, not everyone's like us who's obsessed and spend their time dissecting what Ollie's going to do on the weekend and things like that. Just for the average fan, I think they would love it. You know what I mean? I think the average people love it. For the people who don't get to see like football, the likes of Juventus and Manchester United, Bayern on a consistent basis, they will get to see these clubs way more often, right? So like, I don't get to see Manchester United play ever. I've never gone to Old Trafford. I've never, I've been to England, but I've never been to Manchester in my life. So I've never seen my team play live. So for us who don't have that luxury, the only time we get to see Manchester United, if we get lucky enough to see them on a preseason tour, it's very appealing to people like, a casual fan. For me, I don't want that. But for a casual fan, it makes a ton of sense. Now, financially, it would work in the short term. But long term, I can't see it. I could see it literally evaporating football because so many small clubs would, kind of, I don't want to say tank, but like things like the Carabao Cup, things like the FA Cup, things like the Europa League. All those things are huge money, huge sources of income for smaller clubs. So if those things all of a sudden go away, it's like, damn, what we have to readjust how we operate. So that those are just a couple of things that obviously it's a very raw subject and there's not a lot of context or it's all kind of like in the air. But
Yeah, no. Basically, what we've gotten so far, I was doing a bit of research today for the first time, and what I've got is that effectively it would be, there would still be a Champions League. The Champions League is still going until 2024, no matter what, and then they're going to maybe revamp it then with more teams. But outside of that, it'd be played on a Tuesday and Wednesday night when the Champions League is supposed to be played. It would only involve those 18 teams with another 6 teams available to come in. But the only teams that could get relegated for the first 20 years are the bottom 6 teams. So even if United if there's 24 teams and United come 24th, they wouldn't get relegated because they're one of the initial groups. It would only be those 6 teams that would vie for relegation. I think the main thing about it as well is the amount of money that is on the line with this is absolutely monstrous. Absolutely insane. Like, you look at it, and like, I know what Temmie's saying, from a short-term point of view, whether short-term is 10 years or whatever, you look at the people that are running like the biggest clubs in the world, they are here for the money. They're here to get as much money as they possibly can as soon as possible. So for that, it seems like a no-brainer. So what do you think, basically? Like, the long-term effects, Temps, like, where will this leave? If this comes in 2022, which is remarkably close, where do you think this will leave English football?
Well, as what Temmie was saying, is it's sort of a little bit like the project big picture, isn't it? Is these big clubs just trying to monopolize and take control, and who's going to suffer? It's going to be the smaller clubs, effectively. So yeah, it's one of these weird ones, man. Like, we're talking about it, but if I'm honest, I don't see it happening. I don't. Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think all of these sort of discussions are all happening now. I know there's always been talk about the Super League. It's been in the air for a number of years, but I just think the timing of all of this, with us being in the pandemic, is what's driving a lot of these conversations now. And because I was looking and doing a little bit of research myself, and they're saying that there has to be quite a lot to happen for this to be pushed forward. I.e., FIFA need to come out and start to speak about it. The clubs need to come out and start to speak. And then there also needs to be a lot of backing involved. So it's something that I don't believe will actually happen, if I'm honest. Even though the idea is being pushed, I just can't see it happening.
Okay, that's fair enough. James, where do you fall on that? Do you think it's going to happen, or do you think
just sort of from well, I don't know how to word it, but just from experience, I can't see it happening. This European Super League is something that's been mentioned there or thereabouts since I started watching football in sort of the mid 2000s. It's always been about. I think at the minute, Ed Woodward came out after he told how United hadn't made as much profit as usual this season. He came out and said, these stories have come out of nowhere. We don't know anything about them. So I want to sort of believe him on that sense, and I think it is just paper talk, because the idea of a Super League will always get a reaction from fans, and it's a brilliant story to sell if you can sell it. So it's smart by newspapers, but yeah, I don't see it happening, because if you start this European Super League, you're signing away the futures of every club who can't really qualify for it. So I think the Championship, League One, League Two are going to really struggle to survive, especially after COVID. If this massive cash injection that the English game is already getting is then taken away, because the English game's not an appealing sort of competition anymore for sponsors, so they're not going to funnel money into it. So revenue gets lost from the top to the bottom of teams who aren't in there, and it really could be the end of the English game if it goes ahead.
But like, to be honest, James, on that, and with Sam's, like, I personally do think it is going to happen. We'll get to your thoughts on this, Temmie, now in a second. But like, I think we're looking at it from a point of view of that, like, we think that these top clubs actually give a shit about anyone that isn't on their payroll or even cares about the fans.
No, they don't.
Like, they really, they absolutely don't. Like, all they want, you have those 18 clubs who could possibly earn like a close. I think the entire deal is worth $6 billion. I don't know how many years that is over, but that's what FIFA have borrowed, and this is a FIFA run. Like, it's not UEFA doing it because UEFA
don't want it. UEFA don't want it.
No, UEFA don't want it at all. Like, it's counterintuitive for them completely. Like, UEFA will do anything to stop this happening. But the fact that FIFA are doing it, this is the first time. There's always been sort of rumbles that have happened. But this is the first time that there is money actually on the line. And it's so soon after Project Big Picture. If this was like a year down the line and people were bringing back up the Project Big Picture, I'd be like, oh, they're just thinking of stuff to try and get more money out of England. But like, basically, how I can see it, because it's United, and we'll get talking about United very soon. With United and Liverpool, like, they were the front runners for Project Big Picture and for the European Super League, for both, and they're both only a week after each other. One gets thrown out, and this one comes in. I think they're just trying to keep it going until they find one that fits that will be as profitable for them. Do you know? I really think so. Tell me, where do you lie on that?
No, yeah, I definitely. How do I word this? I think it's a little more realistic than James and Sems thinks, only because of, like you mentioned, the owners and how much money they can make in the short term with this. The issue is, I don't think it will happen because of a lack of sustainability. And again, the football purists are just not going to allow it to happen for such a long time. But I can see something like this getting off of the ground, because the people who have the money are the ones who are making the decision. You know what I'm saying? Which is the tricky part about all of this. But that being said, again, it's a very tough thing to get off of the ground. Tough thing to get off the ground. But if they do get off the ground, they're gonna make tons and tons of money, and they could make the argument that they could, fund the likes of a League One or the smaller leagues, give them some money to keep them going. Because realistically, these small clubs don't need that much to keep them going. I remember I can't remember who we were facing, and was it Europa League? Maybe it was Rochdale. Like that one game they played helped them sustain like throughout the course of the year. So like these small clubs don't need much money, and we're going to make all this money to help supplement the smaller clubs as we're doing this whole thing. But yeah, it's a very complicated, very, very complicated thing to get off the ground. That's why I would lean towards no.
Yeah. But are we sure that, I know there's been a lot of speculation that it's Man United and Liverpool spearheading this, but is it them, or is it FIFA or somebody else behind that's actually approaching these clubs? And you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the reason I do think it's United and Liverpool is because Bayern and we'll say Barca, Real Madrid, they're the top dogs in their league, and they also I don't think they have as much financial power to push something like this. While if you look at United and Liverpool, they are like, well, obviously all the top six, but especially United and Liverpool, are just bringing so much cash every year that if they decide to make the decision, we can go. Because if United and Liverpool are playing in a Champions League game, basically the whole world are watching. You can't say that about any other club. So if these two clubs make this decision that we're going to push this, then every club, it makes it easier for them to get on board. That's why I do think it is. We'll get into talking about United being involved in this in a second, because I think that's going to be the most interesting part of it. But James, where do you fall on this now? How are you? It's like, I personally think that it is inevitable, but where do you think that it's not going to happen? Where do you think would be the faltering point?
Well, I think the reason that I think it won't happen is because I refuse to accept that it could ever happen, because it would be the death of football. But we've seen, we've seen that these teams, especially, over the COVID crisis, obviously, Liverpool using the furlough scheme and Arsenal releasing sort of 55 staff, within football and society in general, the people at the top care very little about the people at the bottom, because it's not their problem. So why, in their mind, why should they care about it? So if these top rich owners have the chance to get even richer, why are they not going to take that? It's like United, the owners don't push for a league by the looks of it, because the difference in prize money from first and fourth doesn't equate to how much you'd have to pay for a signing that would get them there. So that's why they're happy with top four every year. So financially, if this league makes sense, the rich people will make sure it happens. And if the rich people want something to happen, it's going to be very hard for those less well off to even stop it. So I completely agree with Tammy in that it is a realistic possibility, but I just refuse to accept that it could ever happen.
Refuse to accept it. It's like me with Santa Claus. But
the logistics of it actually working and getting off the ground it just seems too far-fetched for me. There just seems too much that would need to happen in order for it to actually get off the ground. You know, they're talking about they're going to need a shed load of funding to get it off the ground. And all these clubs at the moment, nobody's coming out and saying we're pushing it. So I don't know if it's just because it's early days, but then you would think it's like what James said, it's been around since the beginning of time, since we've been watching football. So you would think that if it is getting closer now, then these clubs will all start coming out and saying, yeah, this is what we are looking to do. Nobody's sticking their neck on the line yet.
Yeah,
so
I don't think the clubs would want to do that right now, especially when there's not. It's like coming to a meeting and not having your notes prepared all the way. You know what I mean? And when you want to present something, like they're not going to say we're all for this if they don't have the logistics right, they don't have the finances right. And I know you mentioned that they need backing. That's where FIFA kind of comes into play. You know what I'm saying? And FIFA has money, more money than probably they'd be willing to admit. It's not the most clean, altruistic.
But I don't think FIFA are going to be. I don't think FIFA are going to be funding this whole all of their.
No, of course. That's where obviously the big clubs are going to come into play. But I feel as if they're going to lean on the backing of FIFA, and FIFA is going to be like a little under the cover handshake type of deal. You know what I mean? We help you fund this. You provide us something on the back end. Just like they've been working deals, Qatar for the World Cup, like all these weird things that happen that don't make any sense. And then you're looking like, okay, it's the money. It's
everything always revolves around money. I definitely know that, and I know our owners are greedy for it.
We got a question here. When would they play this when the league is over? No, basically how it would work, Jamie, is that every club involved in this wouldn't play in the Champions League. They would play it'd be Tuesdays and Wednesday evenings. They'd play a round robin, so each one would play home and away. And then eventually, I think like the MLS, there would be the top 6 or whatever, or the top 8 would do like a quarterfinal, semi-final, final to find the European Premier League champion. Jenny Wiley, go on. No,
I was just going to say the other thing as well is how many. We're talking about 18 teams, in this league, home and away, on top of Premier League 38 games. Is a hell of a lot of games that they're going to be playing, because I haven't heard anything about not being entering in the domestic cups as well. So from that point of view as well, all of the traveling, how regularly it would have to be played as well, I just don't see how it can happen.
Well, I'm going to give you the argument of why it'll happen, and I want you guys to prove to me afterwards why it can't, okay? Because I've been thinking about this, and I can't see any. I have always thought this would be inevitable. I have always presumed the European, because there's just so much money in the game, and there's so much money that the top 18 whatever clubs can make, rather than because they're not making enough. But what's going to happen is, because this is set for 2022, and FIFA know what they're doing, because they could wait till 2024 when the Champions League are doing the revamp and say, we're going to do it now. We'll do it now when your revamp will work together. But they're making a point. By doing it in 2022, they're going to make all these clubs that are going to be involved in the Champions League are going to walk out on the Champions League. And no matter what fine they get, they're going to be able to afford it. They're going to pay it, because they know in the long run it's mean more to them. And guys in the comments, please sound off if you agree with me and you think I'm an idiot, because both are probably right. But as well as this, when the Premier League games are happening on Saturday, the owners are going to say, play the kids. Whoever you're playing, whether you're playing Liverpool again after playing them on Tuesday, or whether you're playing Aston Villa or Sheffield United, no matter who it is, fucking Cheltenham Town even, play the kids. Because the midweek games are worth probably more than winning 5 or 6 games in the Premier League are worth. Because like the whole thing around is worth hundreds of millions to win it. Well, winning the Premier League might be, I don't even know what it is, 100 million, whatever it is to win it. So I think And especially since we're just a week out of whatever it was, big projects, big picture, whatever the fucking thing was called. That it is. I feel we're in a whirlpool where the end is just the destruction of football with this getting through. But I just feel it's inevitable. And please tell me if there's anything I've said there that is absolute crap, because I really hope it is. James, come on, you're always great with facts. I'm good with teetering around facts. You're great with actual facts.
Well, you make very good points, but I think, you know, I've read a lot of reports that if this goes through, UEFA are gonna push for a split from FIFA, so they're no longer governed by FIFA. And you know, purely rumours. There's nothing confirmed, but it's likely that a lot of the other confederations, you know, such as CONCACAF and the African Federation and stuff like that, are all going to side with UEFA. And if they all split from FIFA, then, you know, FIFA go into sort of disarray. FIFA are made up by these smaller segments. It's a bit like a pyramid where these smaller segments hold up FIFA. So, you know, without the backing of all the confederations and the football associations underneath them, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for FIFA to get anything done. And I also read something where, especially with the English FA, they would need people to agree with it at every senior level of football. So whether that's, you know, going up through the leagues and league officials or, you know, teams and stuff like that, I think it needs to be agreed on by a hell of a lot of people other than just, you know, FIFA and these 18 teams. So that's logistically why I don't think it could work. You know, you're going to have a lot of legal battles with the two of them as well, which is going to cost more money than it's probably worth. So I think when you really work it out, I think unless they've got some absolutely spectacular plan that they've not told us, I don't think FIFA can really make this work logistically.
But like in that, I understand everything you're saying there, but like this is the first time there's been discussions, but this is the first time FIFA are actually on board. You know what I mean? FIFA are here from the offset, working with Man United, working with Liverpool, and they've already put a date in 2022 where they feel it could happen. Now, this might be they're putting their dream scenario on the table, waiting for the back from UEFA. Because when you're going into any deal, I don't know what business you all are in, but if you're going to make any deal, you always overshoot to begin with, and then you take what you actually want and hopefully a bit more. So maybe their plan is to go past UEFA, but I feel the fact that they have FIFA, they have the money, the backing, the 6 billion, and they have the two biggest clubs in the world completely on board. And the other 18 teams that they've invited are all up for coming to the table to discuss it. No one has said, I am not going to be involved with this. It makes me feel that this is, it's getting there. Do you know? It is getting there.
Can I add one thing I forgot to mention as well? Obviously, with these sort of confederations disbanding away from FIFA now, it's arguable, but I think the World Cup would still be the biggest competition in the world, despite this European Super League. So it's definitely the competition that will make FIFA the most money. Now, if you've got all these confederations that have split from FIFA, what obligation do they have to send their nations to a World Cup? If they don't, if the nations don't compete in a World Cup, FIFA don't have a World Cup, and their main source of income, I know they're getting a lot more from this European Super League now, you know, to sort of complement it. But the biggest competition in the world is suddenly ceased to exist.
I think they have obligations to play in the World Cup, though. I think FIFA could issue fines to them if they don't come to the World Cup. I think that's what I read somewhere.
I think that's only if they qualify. This is all kind of up in the air. But if they're, because they have to remain a member of FIFA to play in the World Cup and to get their funding and stuff like that. But if UEFA were to break away, set up their own thing, and people join UEFA, it'd be less money, it'd be smaller scale to begin with. If this is a protest, then that could change. You know, all that can change the next time it's up for a debate. But everything, James, you're making phenomenal points, and all of you guys as well. But like everything you're saying, though, then why are FIFA doing this? Why are FIFA putting this out there? Can anyone come back to me on that?
They're trying. They're gone for me.
No, I was going to say they're playing their hand. I mean, they're seeing how far they can get to this opportunity before, you know, people really scream and shout. The real issue is obviously FIFA's like the overarching body, but like big clubs dominate the sport. Like we can, you know, like we can be as football purist-y as we want. Big clubs dominate the sport. It's just a fact. And if you know 18 big clubs feel like they want to do something, you know, and FIFA and it's going to make FIFA money, FIFA's going to listen to it, and FIFA's going to work with those clubs to see what they can do to make that happen. Because at the end of the day, for most of, well, let me not say all, but we at least know for our owners, money and making money is the main concern, and that's never really going to change. And I would imagine that's how it is for, I don't know PSG's owners or anything like that, but PSG, Barcelona, they want to be successful, but they want to make money. This is, at the end of the day, this is what they want to do. So why would FIFA not take the chance on getting something like this done, and making money for the people at the top?
This is the other thing as well, is do we know, because I've heard is Liverpool and Man United and I think Real Madrid, but do we even know whether these other proposed teams are even in for this? Some, like a team like Tottenham, for example, are they up for this?
I think Spurs are. Yeah, I think Spurs would explode in their pants to even be in this conversation. Do you know, this is how mad football has gone. Okay, they're doing it. If a breakaway European Super League happens, Spurs are in the conversation. Could anyone imagine Spurs being in that conversation 10 years ago? Do you know, that is insanity. They've done nothing.
They have the infrastructure to do it. They just built a brand new. Imagine Spurs versus Bayern Munich in their new stadium, and you get that twice, in 2 months. They're gonna make a ton of money. Tourists are gonna come in.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a grab that is next to none. For the casual fan who just wants to be there and enjoy themselves, drink, not really focus on the game. So,
but on this, okay, we're gonna have to eventually talk about Man United, since we are, Man United fans, and they are the people spearheading this, and this is a Man United fan channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and get your comments in, guys. But we really have to, first there was Project Big Picture, now it's this. How do we feel as fans to be whether it happens or not or whatever? We'll look at it. Look, from all of us, we'll look at it going forward as this is happening and Man United are spearheading this. Because how do we feel? How does that make us feel as fans that United are the forehead, are ahead of this? This is not like when the Premier League was started, when it was revolutionizing football for the better. We could arguably say for the better. It took it to the next level in England. This is changing everything, and it could never be more decisive. Sems, how do you feel?
I guess it's just even more of a realization that these guys just don't have our club's best interests at heart. It's just all for themselves, their own gain, and it's not a cool feeling. The problem is that we know what we're dealing with and whenever we hear stuff like this, it just reinforces the fact that we know that we're in trouble because. The thing is though, do we get into this Super League? Will they then start to spend money for us to try and win it? No, they probably won't, because being in it is going to pay them enough money. So it's just a vicious cycle. And then it then starts to make you wonder, how do we actually break free from these guys? When will we start to be okay again? Because if we then start to go into something like a Super League, they're not going to be doing that for the short term. That's going to be long term. And then you just start to think, what happens to us? Obviously, we will continue to make money, but us as fans, we like to win trophies. We want to be successful. We want to see, we want to be on the top end of football. It doesn't seem, especially when you're saying that we can't actually get relegated from this league as well. So it just kind of makes you think, what's the point in being in it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. James, how do you feel about our beloved Man United being associated with this so heavily?
It's sort of shameful. As fans, especially United fans, we quite enjoy looking around other teams and laughing at, well, not laughing, but sort of looking on in disgust about what they're doing. So, the Liverpool furlough scheme didn't go down well with fans at all. The Arsenal redundancies, and then you look at City with the owner that basically made them a club, and PSG sort of inflating the market. We looked at those incidences with disgust, but if this goes through and United are spearheading it, it's far worse than anything any owner has ever done to football before. I get, PSG massively inflating the market. It's still not the end of the world. Everything is inflated in sort of proportion, so it's really not the end of the world. Whereas the fact that United are spearheading a decision which inevitably will kill football, it's just, as fans, it makes you feel really ashamed to support the club that you've grown up loving.
Before we get to you, Timmy, a very depressing comment came in from Brendan. Even with all the money Manchester United would make from the European Super League, we would still be in huge debt, and I wonder why that is. Timmy, for yourself, how do you feel? With United running this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I felt bad about the club for 7 years. So like, this is like not a big, like, it's obviously I don't want it to happen. There's I'd rather.
Oh, someone's got to him.
You were first place in the league. I don't know what that was.
Timmy, we taught you UEFA and got you there, and we're taking you out for talking sense.
But if we were consistent on the pitch and I actually feel like the Glazers had our best interests at heart, maybe I would be more apt to listen to whatever is being said. But any decision they make, I probably just don't like, because I don't trust them with anything. You know what I mean? They're doing a really, really good job of milking this club and making money off of it. And I don't think us disbanding from the Premier League could be, I mean, maybe it could have 7 years, but it'd be tough. It'd be tough. It'd be really, really tough to beat that.
Yeah.
Really, really tough to beat that.
Well, the vote coming in so far, we've another half an hour left on this vote. It's 79% in not favor. I was going to say in favor of not doing it, but in not favor. Which one's proper English? You guys invented the language. Not in favor. Thank you, Sims. You're my favorite guest today. Are not in favor of this. Shock horror, 21% are in favor. Okay, we're gonna continue with the mindset of this will happen. Would be completely honest with this. Don't take a stand if you don't actually think you're going to stand by it later on. But would this affect your relationship with the club? If this was to happen, 2022, announce we're now part of this European Super League as long as with the Premier League, which wouldn't last for too much longer, I'd say, after myself, if I'm being honest. Would this affect your association with the club? Would you start questioning that you'd support them, or would it not really make them much of a difference? You'd just be disappointed. I know it's a big question, and Sems, you're my favorite, so you go first.
Well, you have to come to me, man. You know what? I think I'll be disappointed. Look, I'm always going to support Manchester United. It's just ingrained in me, and it can't go away. But, you do get through periods of disappointment. Like, for example, I've refused to buy a new top. I've refused to buy it purely because of what's happening with the club. And I do think that the more and more that this starts to happen, the more and more I may move away. And I'm saying that because this is the first time that we've been here before, but this is the first time I've really felt real disgust, because I genuinely thought this transfer window would be a little bit different. And then these guys have just acted like donuts again. So, yeah, I think if the time came, just to try and close up on what I'm saying, if the time came, I think I would be hurt and I probably would move more away. But I'm always going to support Man United.
Yeah, that's fair. James, for yourself?
I think I'd sum it up by saying I'd feel like the mother of a serial killer. Now I'd be completely ashamed. I'd be completely ashamed by the thing that they've done.
The mother of a serial killer.
Well, because mums are generally more loving, aren't they?
All right, I think we're getting an insight here into James' family life. But continue there.
But yeah, I'd be absolutely ashamed by what they've done, but I'd still love them regardless. I'd carry that sort of almost guilt, the knowing that United had sent the rest of football spiraling. But I'd still watch every game, no doubt about it. I'd still support the team. You can't. It's very well known. That Cantona quote about you can change everything in your life, but you can't change your football team. And I'm never going to stop watching football, so I'll never stop watching United. So Yeah, it's hard for me to say, but like there's no doubt that my allegiance would even begin to change.
Yeah, Jamie with a comment here. No, I'd be a United fan forever, even if they were non-league football. Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to be an issue. But Jamie, thank you for the support. Okay, Tammy, take us home. Where would you be faltering whatsoever?
Nah, it's just like I can never like the guy said. There's just no way I could stop, rocking with this team. It's been too long. So I think I started watching soccer like around 06, 05, 06 when I was pretty young. I didn't even know what I was watching. I could stop even in our worst state, or if our owners are, it's not the players' fault. The owners are some greedy human beings. It's just it's tough. But yeah, there's no way I could ever stop supporting the club.
Yeah, that's fair. To be honest, I'm in the same mindset, if I'm being honest, of obviously I could never support another club team other than United. There's always going to be clubs I like, but it just the only club that are actually part of my DNA, I feel, is Man United. I feel this, although if it was to come in and if it was to kind of continue the way football is going, it would probably turn me off football altogether.
Yeah.
It would never stop me supporting. I would never go support another team, but it would make me kind of just question what is the point. Like Sems, I'm completely on board with that. Like I've 2 new United jerseys, but they were supplied by Ali, who's out there watching. Thanks very much, pal. But I would never ever spend 80, 90, whatever, however much there on a new jersey that's going straight to people who don't need the money. And if it continues down this route, it would just be hard for me to support them when people earning so much money. And I am always the first person that defends footballers deserve as much money as they get paid because they're the ones doing the work. They're out there. We all watch football to watch footballers and managers as well to a lesser extent. But that's why they deserve to get paid as much as they are, because they are the reason we watch it. Yeah. So absolutely, they deserve to get paid as much as they do and more. But it would just get very, very hard for me to support. If it was to go this far, but you never know. I'll probably still be an Egypt in 2022 when they are the champions of the European Super League. But on that as well,
is that we all support Manchester United because we all support. It's like a cult sort of thing. But what are we actually supporting? Do you know what I'm saying? What is it that we're actually supporting? Because the team changes all of the time. Owners, we don't like the owners, and it's a bit of it sounds like a weird question, but when you deep it, really, what do we actually support? Do you know what I'm saying? We just follow this. It's just we watch Man United and we're so into it, and do you know what I mean? It's in our blood, but I don't know. It's really weird when you've got owners like that who do take the joy away from it.
Sense, you're absolutely football, being a football supporter, I think we can all agree, is 99% misery. It is. It's always
like this.
Well, we had a good run, but it's always a case of but even in a season when we were at our top, generally we'd get knocked out of the Champions League, we get knocked out of the FA Cup, we'd knocked out of the League Cup, we'd win the league, but we get knocked out of other stuff. So you'd be miserable as well as being happy. But now it's just kind of always miserable. But still, you have moments like the PSG game last night where it makes it all worthwhile. It does make it all worthwhile. Where just for a second you forget every other problem you have in the world, and it's just the fact that we beat the team we were supposed to get hockeyed by, which is always wonderful. And I don't care what anyone says on this. Fuck PSG in their entirety. But if we were to go ahead with this, I know people are saying there'd be Champions League 2. If this was to happen, would there do you think the Premier League would just would we last in the Premier League, or would it just end up being the European Super League? If this was to go ahead, what are the guys' thoughts on this?
Compete in both. I don't see how that's possible. Compete both as long term. I don't see how that's possible.
The way it seems that it'll happen is that there'll be the 18 teams, and even I think the bottom 6 teams will probably end up thrown out there, probably Celtic and Rangers, Ajax, teams like this with huge fan bases that don't have the money or infrastructure, but will be brought in and allowed to get relegated. But I'd say it'll be the Premier League will have 18 teams made up of teams that didn't make it, and across the board it'll be the exact same as well. And then all the top teams will just be in one league eventually. And it's not good. It's really, really, really not good. But but closing thoughts on this, like the Champions League as well. Basically, what happens? You know, like I know it's all fairly up in the air, but do we see? Okay, to finish on something positive, do we see positives from this happening? If this was to happen, what would be the good thing that would happen for outside of financial wise, but for the fans and stuff like that? What do we think would be the good thing that would happen? Temi was completely against that. James, to give Sems a rest, we'll come to you first with a quick. How are you, Kartik? Thanks for joining us on this. And join Kartik very late to the party, Kartik, as you said. But thanks for joining anyway. But give us your thoughts there, James, on what benefits this would be for us. Welcome back, Temi.
From a fan point of view, you can't deny that it will be an incredible spectacle. I think the best teams in Europe competing every single week. There's none of the sort of teams that just make up numbers in the Champions League that get battered every week. You're getting high quality football at least once a week, especially if you get a good run of fixtures with the domestic league as well. You're going to be watching the best of the best every single week. So from that point of view, I can sort of look forward to it. And then, the away days would be incredible.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be, going to the new camp every other week. And I think, some of the games are meant to be played in USA and Dubai and places like that as well. So if you could afford it, the away days would be brilliant. They're all minor positives, but not many.
But I would say, James, is like the away days in Dubai would be great on paper until you get over there and realize you can't drink. And you're in very, very hot weather. But yeah, tell me for yourself on that. Again, I asked James to bring up good points, but in the same way that if you're playing Barcelona every week, then totally they stop being Barcelona. They just start being, the next team. You're like, there's lost all special, everything special about it. But Temi, take it away. What are your thoughts on anything positive?
Yeah, the positive is obviously internationally, it's going to be a huge draw. That's what the ultimate pull is. If I'm gonna draw one positive out of this, people like me, who aren't close, who aren't in the country where football is the number one sport. You know what I'm saying? We get to see top level football. Potentially, let's say they come to the U.S. Two games are played in the U.S. a month.
Yeah,
that's top quality football that you can watch every weekend. Or go to every weekend. You can plan something. That's the only positive I would take out of it. Outside of that, it's very, very difficult for me to get out of the routine of Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, Europa League, watching my Italian football, watching my Spanish. Like that rhythm and routine is going to get broken, and I just never want that to happen. So
yeah, you're kind of set. You're set and happy in your ways now, and you don't need it changed. Sams, for yourself, give us some positives.
Look, one thing we know in life is that we're going to get change, and you sort of can't resist it. You just have to go along with it, and you sort of adapt. So I'm sure when the time does come, if it does come, that as these guys have said, we're going to see more quality football, top level football on a more regular basis, and then that will probably end up being some sort of a positive. But from looking at it from this point of view now, I can't see any positives from the lens that I'm looking through it, because I'm like, at the moment we're in the Premier League. The Premier League is everything that I've known, and I'm thinking, how can I get myself up for us scoring in this Super League to then celebrate it like as if it was Man United versus Liverpool in the Premier League. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not sure whether it will have the same zazz like the Champions League. Now, again, I'm probably just talking from the wrong perspective. If we're there, then
I don't think so. I think this is the best way to talk about it now when we're not kind of in it and we're not brainwashed by it, because the facts are we're eventually going to be made feel that United against Liverpool in Dubai is the best thing for all of us. Like that is eventually how it's going to happen. And like Barcelona, Real Madrid and Miami is the best thing for all of us. It needs to grow. We need to be a world sport, when in fact it's not like that. It's getting so far away. Stuart as a commentator. Those big games would maybe lose their magic if they were played weekly. That's what I said. Absolutely. That is what would happen. Like, they would stop being we have rivalries around Europe. We're lucky to have we love this big club that has these huge rivalries around Europe with Bayern Munich, with Real Madrid, Barcelona. Like, we've history with them throughout these competitions. But if we're playing them week in, week out, and we're rivalries in a way that when we play them, we have that to bring back up. But like, they're not the same as Liverpool, they're not the same as Arsenal, not the same as Chelsea, not the same as even you look at Villa. It's like clubs like that which we have a history with. Like, they're just European rivals. And if we're losing the closeness we have with our league just to make more money, it's just not going to be good for anyone. It's going to turn people away from the game, and it's going to be the worst thing for all of us. So I wish there was anything positive we could say about this to bring this to a close. Maybe after we do one game of this, we'll be able to afford Jadon Sancho, which would be nice. I guess. But guys, thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe in the comments. I'm going to give each of these guys a couple of seconds just to plug whatever they got at their own home. And Semps, you were my number one today. Go ahead, say what you have to say.
My name is Semps. You can catch me at LSemps on Twitter or at Views TV Official on Twitter as well. That's me. Peace.
Beautiful. Peace as well. James, take it away.
I don't really have anything to plug. I'm just happy to be here. But if you really wanted to be nice to me, you could go and check out the podcast I do. We get in some pretty good guests to say how small we are as a podcast. So yeah, that would mean the world to me if you could.
James, you are such a polite man, and it's adorable. Temi, take it away, buddy.
Yeah, guys, you can follow me at Temi Talks United on Twitter. Obviously, the handle's right there. And then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel when you get the chance. Also, just type in Temi Talks UTD and follow the movement.
Follow the fucking movement. That is a cool way to finish anything. I'm Joe O'Neill. Make sure to find me at Acting Joe on Twitter. Give me a follow. Joe Your Own Way on Instagram. Joe O'Neill on YouTube. Please check out my YouTube channel and watch and like my videos. Find me on All Free United, but all the guys here at separate channels. We'll be back, I think, tomorrow. With Ben is up in the morning. He has an interview, so make sure to check it out. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to find all these guys. Guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight on this. We'll be back next week, 10 o'clock, with hopefully a more positive topic to talk about that'll bring smiles to our faces, like after we thump Lampard's Chelsea 4-0 this weekend again. It's going to happen, guys, and we're going to leave it on that, and it's definitely happening. Thank you so much again for joining. I've been Joe, you've been the lads, and